In the old neighborhood where I grew up, there was this rundown house that was supposedly without an owner for half a century. My mom, along with every parent in town, told us to never go inside the house because it was haunted. Me and my friends, we all believed our parents' words because we were too young to think otherwise. Looking back as an adult, of course they were telling us some made-up story because they feared we might bump into a homeless dude or some druggies inside the building. Our parents told us that a gentleman in town had proof of ghosts living inside the house. That proof was a photo the man took inside the building, and supposedly he was able to capture a ghost hovering in the air. But we were boys, and boys do stupid things to pass the time. One day, this was a month before my 15th birthday, my friend Jingyu challenged me and Suhong to go inside the haunted house and to take a selfie as a proof. He said he'll buy us each a video game if we succeeded taking the selfies, but I told him I didn't want the game and that he should come with us instead. Suhong didn't like that idea, and probably because he preferred the game. I, on the other hand, wanted to see Jingyu shit his pants and could care less about the game. Jingyu agreed in the end, and we all decided to meet up at midnight on the same day. My parents are heavy sleepers, and therefore sneaking out of the house was easy as pie. I was the first one to arrive at the building, and the guys followed shortly thereafter. I said to them, "Anyone change their mind? If you want to pussy out, now's the time." To which Jingyu defiantly responded, "Speak for yourself, chicken shit." "Alright then, let's go," I said boldly, like I could care less, but secretly I was really scared. I felt the kind of scare which I've never felt before as we stepped in through the gate. When Suhong shut the gate behind us, it felt almost as if we had severed our only connection to the sane world. We carefully swerved around the trash and rubbles that had been collecting over the last 50 years. When we got to the door, I could sense everyone's nervousness, and I was seriously ready to give up when Jingyu opened the door and there was no turning back. Jingyu entered first, and it was followed by Suhong. Me, honestly, it took me a short while to muster up enough courage to enter the premises. I finally stepped into the house, and right away I was greeted with a really strong moldy stench. To my surprise, Jingyu and Suhong seemed relaxed as they explored the interior of the house without a care in the world. At first, I thought they were faking it, but then Suhong took out his cell phone and began taking photos of the house. Jingyu did the same, but in order to outdo Suhong, he took selfies as he kept repeating, "There's no freaking ghost in this house. Look at the photo, it's just me in here." Suhong wasn't about to let Jingyu have all the glory, and so he did the same. He took selfies and bragged to me that he wasn't afraid of anything. The guys tried to take pictures with me, but I didn't let them. It's kind of embarrassing, but I was still scared, and the last thing I wanted was to take photos in that house. We got out after 10 minutes. Jingyu and Suhong teased me on their way back home. Then I arrived home feeling like a chicken shit. I guess I was a chicken shit. It was a Sunday the next morning, and as per usual, Mom dragged me to church, and we returned home in the evening because we had to drop by at Grandma's as well. We saw several neighbors having a lively conversation on the street. Mom got curious and asked them what was going on. One of the ladies told Mom to send me home first, and thank God for that because I really didn't want to hang around while Mom made small talks with the other ladies. I was finishing up homework in my room when Mom knocked on the door and entered. She looked serious, and I thought I did something wrong. It would have been great if that were the case, but sadly she came to speak to me about the deaths of my two best friends. Both Jingyu and Suhong had perished earlier in the day, but in separate accidents. Jingyu was involved in a fatal car accident, and Suhong choked on his lunch while eating alone at home. I saw a shrink for the next 2 years and was unable to make new friends for another 3. It was only after I got better that I began thinking about the nights of the haunted house. It occurred to me that whether knowingly or unknowingly, our parents were right about being able to capture ghosts in the photos inside the haunted house. Both Jingyu and Suhong took selfies inside the house and they perished the next day. What if anyone who takes photos in that house dies? If true, the selfies might as well be the photos of soon-to-be spirits. Could I really count on coincidence for both my friends losing their lives right after visiting the haunted house? I can't accept that as much as I want to. Some things in this world you just don't mess with. I've learned that lesson the hard way, and my friends had to pay for that lesson with their lives. After several years of working as a teacher, I've learned that my life will forever be a repetition of school, home, drinking over the weekend with friends, and that's it. That was my forever. I work nearly 60 hours per week, earn just enough to not have to borrow, and marriage? Well, marriage I've given up a long time ago. Mom always pesters me to bring home a girl, and Dad hasn't spoken to me ever since I told him I won't be getting married. I understand why they feel so strongly about me getting married. I mean, I am an only child after all. But what do they expect me to do with a meager teacher salary? They have no idea how expensive things are in Tokyo. This morning, I got a call from Mom and we had the same argument as usual. I felt crappy the whole day, but to make things even worse, the student club I'm coaching took an hour longer to be done with. Then I had to spend extra 4 hours in the office to finish up the day. By the time I was stepping out of the school, the time was already 10 p.m. I opened the door to get out of the building, and the first thing that comes into view is the reddest moon I had ever seen. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen a blood moon. I've seen reddish moon, but the moon tonight looks like it's been filled with blood. It's spooky as hell, but it's a well-understood natural phenomena. It is what it is. Across the field and past the gate, I'm walking on the sidewalk to get to the train station. I can see a woman walking toward me, and she looks to be in real bad shape. She doesn't look hurt physically, but more like a person who's ill and unable to walk straight. Her head is down, shoulders hunched over. I want to ask her if she's okay, but then it's late, and I might actually scare her. I just pass by her silently. I crossed the street and could see more people walking in all directions. Some of them are coming in my direction, but strangely, they exhibit the same behavior as the woman who passed by me just now. Head down, hunched over, and they all look extremely tired. I've got 5 blocks to go before I get to the train station, and the more I walk, the more I realize the entire city is ill. Everyone outside looks sick and exhausted. As I see the people struggle to even walk, I begin to wonder if that's how I look like in a few years' time. I'm young today, and I can still get through the 60-hour work week without much difficulty, but I'm bound to wear down at some point. I didn't think that it was possible to feel even more pessimistic of my future, but the thought of joining these barely alive workhorses is enough to get me down even more. I'm 3 blocks away from school, and I don't know if this is just my imagination, but I think people are looking at me funny. Every time I pass by someone, that person gives me a nasty look. I look back and they're still looking at me. Some of them have even stopped on their tracks to keep their eyes on me, and the situation has all of a sudden gotten extremely creepy. I walk faster and could hear footsteps following behind me. I see a group of people just standing on the sidewalk. No, actually, I think they are blocking my path. I jump onto the road and see the group of people up ahead do the same. These bastards are all of a sudden moving much faster, like they've just been given a shot of adrenaline. I turn around and run diagonally, aiming for the gap between the groups of people converging on me. I get past the extended arms of the creeps in the nick of time and continue running back toward the school. I can't believe I didn't notice it all along, but there isn't a single car moving on the road. The only ones I could see are parked by the side of the road. I'm at the school, run past the gate, but I don't have enough time to lock the gate behind me. I run to the front door of the school, unlock it, and slam it behind me. I scream for the security guard's help and proceed to lock the door. The strange creeps outside start banging on the door, and so I run toward the back of the school as I scream and shout for the security guard. I then hear the glass door shatter. They are inside. I'm almost at the end of the hallway, and that's when I realize it's become that quiet. By now, I'm fairly certain the security guard is not inside the building, and therefore I have to deal with the situation on my own. I turn around to face the creeps, but there's no one in front of me. I can't see the door that well from this distance, but I think it's intact. So then what the heck was that noise of glass shattering? I slowly walk back to the front door. There's no one outside, and sure enough, the glass front door is intact. No one's broken it. I step outside, and the first thing that comes into view is the normal white moon. I reluctantly walk back to the sidewalk and see that there's traffic, the people are normal, and nothing seems out of place. I was still shaken from what I had just experienced, but still manned up and walked to the train station without anyone chasing after me. I've got no clue what happened to me that night, but I know it wasn't a dream, and I definitely didn't imagine the whole thing. I'm not religious or particularly superstitious, but the next time I see a blood red moon, I'm definitely parking my ass in the safest spot in the city until it turns back to normal. I was only 12 years old when Mom passed away. She went through 2 agonizing years of on and off chemotherapy, but when her cancer returned for the 4th and final time, she no longer had the will to fight it and gave up. Today, as an adult, I understand the choice she made at the time, but as a young boy, I remember begging her to continue the treatment because I didn't want to lose her. During the 2 years of her illness, I used to record her talking on a tiny tape recorder. This was the time before the mainstream use of cell phones and even MP3 players. In my days, Sony Walkmans were the king. But yeah, there was always a fear in me that I could lose Mom at any moment, and I think that's why I used to record her talking so much. I wanted to be able to listen to her voice even after she left me, and so I prepared for the thing that I feared the most. About a week after my 12th birthday, I was at school in my classroom when someone from the school office knocked on the door and asked the teacher to step out into the hallway. My teacher returned a minute later and told the kids to read the textbook while she spoke to me. She let me out into the hallway and gave me the news I never wanted to hear. Mom had passed away at the hospital just moments ago. It felt like my entire body had been zapped out of energy and my legs just gave out. Flat on my butt on the floor, I cried like the world had come to an end, and in some ways, it had for me. Part of me died on that day. I have to think there's an enormous difference between losing a parent due to the natural process of aging versus due to a terminal illness. I never got to spend my 20s, 30s, let alone have the chance to go through puberty with Mom alive. That emptiness and loneliness stayed with me my whole life. I missed Mom even after I got married and had children of my own. I still listen to her speak on the recording every once in a while. I made digital recordings of the cassette tapes some years back, but I still listen to the tapes on special occasions. I know that technically there's no difference, it's our voice regardless of the media. But I don't know, those tapes I made were there when Mom was alive. They were inside the Walkman right next to Mom when she could still smile at me, tell me that she loves me, and even sing for me when she wasn't hurting so much. The sound quality of the tapes have worsened over the years, But to me, nothing sounds warmer and sweeter than those old tapes. So it was my birthday the other day. I had a small party with family and friends, and it was about 10 p.m. when the last guest left our home. I put the kids to sleep earlier in the evening. My wife was exhausted from cooking and cleaning all day, and so I told her she should go rest first. I then stepped into my office, took the cassette tapes out of the safe, and began listening to several different recordings. One of the tapes contained Mom singing Happy Birthday for me on my 11th birthday. Obviously, that tape gets a listen at least once a year. I spent roughly half an hour listening to Mom's lovely voice. Then I was about to put the tapes back in the box when I saw an unlabeled cassette tape that had been ignored by me all these years. It was the last recording I made with Mom. She had passed away already when I made the recording. The hospital allowed me to spend a little bit of time with Mom when I went to see her in the middle of school day. I told her I loved her, that I didn't hate her for giving up on the treatment, because I did say that once, and finally, I told her that I would miss her until my final breath. I recorded everything as I spoke to her. I think I did that because I wanted to take something from that day. Even if it was the sound of the air in that room, it was something to remember her by, and so I made the recording. The thing is though, I never listened to the recording. It was just me talking to my deceased mom, and so naturally, I never really wanted to listen to the contents of the cassette. But for whatever reason, I wanted to listen to the recording that night. I wasn't getting any younger, and neither was the tape. I felt maybe it could be my last chance to listen to the original recording, and so I did. I could hear the crackling sound of the old cassette tape as it played the events of that day. I was crying as I was listening to the child me cry. The sadness of that day swept over me like a tsunami. The sorrow and heartache was still fresh in my mind. I stopped talking in the recording and was about to stop the tape when I heard a faint voice of a woman in the background. It couldn't be, I thought. I raised the volume to the max, then replayed the last few seconds. There was a loud hiss noise in the background, and the crackling noise intensified as well. But even so, it was Mom. She said, "I'm sorry, son. I love you." Then I could hear myself getting up from the chair that was next to the bed, and the recording stops a few seconds thereafter. I felt at peace again for the first time in my life since Mom passed away. I never forgave myself for telling her that I hated her for giving up on the treatment, and also for not being there for her in her final moments. Whether this world or the next, I knew she'd always forgive me and love me, but I never got to hear her say those words before she passed away. I finally had my peace and knew life was going to be different from that moment. Love and appreciate your family at every waking moment. Don't ever say hurtful things to them that you know you'll regret. Let them know right now how much you love them. Hello beautiful creepers, Dennis here. I think it's been 8 days since my last upload. I'm sorry for the lack of content, but I've been really busy making videos for the new channel. Well, the soon to exist new channel. As you guys know, creepy channels are getting killed off and my channel's on the chopping block as well. I have to prepare for the inevitable, or at least what I think to be the inevitable, and the new channel is just that. I probably told you guys already, but the new channel will be similar to this channel in that it'll feature stories in science, mystery, the paranormal, and also some interesting current news. I won't touch anything too graphic or mature for obvious reasons, and I'm hoping that'll prevent that from YouTube classifying it as family unfriendly. I'll let you guys know when the new channel is up, and although I'll continue posting on this channel, you have to imagine that eventually the new channel will become the main place where I post content. We'll see what happens, but that's just how I expect things to happen in time. Alright, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.